Many of us know a melody that I want to start with and then end with. And then I'll tell you why. The middle. You start from the beginning. An image. Imagine 100,000 plus people, arm in arm, singing and dancing to that melody. Imagine the sense of power to that kind of engagement on the same tune, the kind of energy of dancing together. That was an experience I had last year at Lag BaOmer in Meron. And Lag BaOmer has been on my mind, of course, since it was Wednesday night and Thursday the last few days. People gather in Meron on Lag BaOmer by the hundreds of thousands. The estimate for last year, 2018, was 250,000 according to Wikipedia. Now think about that in numbers. Israel is just under 9 million people. America is just over 327 million. That's a ratio of 36-fold, which is to say, imagine a celebration of 9 million people in America coming together to sing and dance for a night, a whole night, with bonfires, with food being handed out in abundance to those that are gathered there. This is the first time last year on sabbatical that I had the opportunity to go to Meron with my good friend Micha Odenheimer. We could only go by bus because they close off the way to private cars. We'd once tried years ago to go by private car. We couldn't get in. So you gathered, in this case, a bus near Machane Yehuda, the market in Jerusalem, that takes you all the way up to the area of the north and the Galilee for this massive carnival of celebration. It's in honor of the Yurtzeit, the death of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is, in the tradition, the author of the Zohar. And I wanted to share early a little today, so it's a little bit longer than usual. Say that also for our guest, Gila Fine. I don't want to think that I talk this much every Shabbat. And we're all going to have the privilege to learn and hear Gila Fine as our scholar from Jerusalem after lunch today. But I first wanted to just share with you the last pages of the Itra Zuta, the description from the Zohar. Many of you know this translation and commentary by our friend Danny Matt, 18 years in the making to do this translation and commentary. And here's the description of the death of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai celebrated in Meron. Rabbi Abba said, "The supernal holy lamp has now finished saying life before his words subsided. I was writing, intended to write more, yet I heard nothing. I did not raise my head, for the light was too great, and I could not look. Just then I trembled. I heard a voice saying, 'Length of days and years of life and peace they will add to you.' I heard another voice. 'Life he asked of you. You gave it to him, length of days forever and ever.' All that day fire did not cease from the house. No one reached him. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, no one could, since light and fire surrounded him all that day long. I flung myself on the ground and wailed. After the fire disappeared, I saw the supernal lamp, Holy of Holies, another name for Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who had departed from the world, enwrapped, lying on his right, his face smiling. Rabbi Elazar, his son, rose, took his hands and kissed them. As for me, I licked the dust beneath his feet. The companions wanted to weep, but they could not utter a sound. Then their weeping began. Rabbi Elazar, his son, flung himself down 3 times, but could not open his mouth. Finally, he opened, saying, Father, Father. 3 there were. Into one they have turned. Now the beasts will flee, birds are flying away, sinking into the chasm of the great sea, and the companions are all drinking blood. Rabbi Chia rose to his feet and said, Until now the holy lamp, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, has been watching over us. Now is solely the time to attend to his honor. Rabbi Elazar, his son, and Rabbi Abba rose. They carried him on a litter made of a ladder, who has seen the confusion of the companions, and the whole house exuded fragrance. They lifted him onto a bier. Only Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba attended to him. Trunculent stingers and shield-bearing warriors came from Sepphoris and Tiberia, and all the inhabitants of Meron, banding together, shouted, for they feared that he would not be buried there in Meron. After his bier emerged, it rose on its own in the air, fire flaring before it. They heard a voice, Come and enter. Gather for the wedding celebration of Rabbi Shimon. He shall enter into peace. They shall rest upon their couches. As he entered the cave, they heard a voice inside. This is the man who shook the earth, who made kingdom tremble. How many open mouths of accusation in heaven subside today because of you? This is Rabbi Shimon, son of Yochai, in whom his Lord glories every day. Happy is his share above and below. How many supernal treasures are preserved for him. Of him it is said, quoting Daniel, As for you, go on till the end, and you will rest, and arise for your destiny at the end of days. So the Zohar describes a celebration of unification. For in Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's death is also his uniting with the heavenly realm. And so it is, as was said here, gather for the wedding celebration of Rabbi Shimon. For in his death is supernal unity. And on Lag BaOmer, this day, those gathered for Halulah LeRabbi Shimon, the celebration of his life. Being in Meron and entering off that bus, long before you get to the center, which is his grave in Meron, and also an area the size of a football field that has bleachers, and beneath it an open field for that singing of tens of thousands. Before you get even close, you have a carnival of booksellers, food givers, of Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Rabbi, giving a talk on the side of a building, of a quality of carnival, of energy that I've never experienced on that scale. But I went in with a friend who'd been many times and quickly joined the dancing. It was very hard to get in because in that kind of football field, there were entrances. And off in the side was an elevated place where different Rabbis would be lighting the torch of the night for the fire to keep going. And to get into the area of dancing, you had to really maneuver because it was so densely packed with people on the inside, you couldn't gain access until people were leaving and you kind of had to snuggle in. And then what was remarkable about the dancing is that all different hues of Jewish identity were represented, arm in arm, sweating together, singing the songs with enormous energy and exuberance. But I came to it with different eyes than most of the people there. So I want to share with you what troubled me as well. What troubled me was that the women who were there were not involved in any of the singing and dancing. They were off on the sides. Now, I understand that. I've lived a long time in Orthodox settings. I understand why and how. But for me, as a visitor, I was aware that the women weren't even singing because that would be kol isha, the voice of a woman. So the women were off to the sides watching, not even being able to experience, from what I saw, their own celebration. I did see women further from the field praying by themselves. For this place, and particularly on this holiday of Lag BaOmer, infertile women are told that you go to the cave of Meron and there miracles happen. And so there is a sense of children coming, because also, depending on the tradition, for Ashkenazim, there's the cutting of the hair of 3-year-olds on Lag BaOmer, for Sephardim on the day after. There's a sense of children, but it's an all-night festival. The women were not given voice, and even more. As the men were dancing with fervor, they were standing still, for you're not allowed to use and sway in that setting. And so the gap between what I'm used to, I'll just say it's what I'm used to, and the sense of women sharing in celebration was a source of tension for me. The second source of tension, which I am drawn to but live with tension, is magic. The notion that this is a place in which miracles happen, in which you can buy, and I did buy a little Shimon Bar Yochai, his face changes on a keychain for $10. But I buy it because I'm fascinated by amulets. Many people there have a quality, I would say I envy, but I don't, of a quality of magical thinking, of miracles. And it's all undermined for me because in my study of the Zohar, the academics would say it wasn't written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So this entire celebration of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, in which people are feeling the exuberance of his death from an academic point of view, the Zohar itself came to light in Spain in the 13th century through the writings of Moshe de Leon, which doesn't mean that Moshe de Leon didn't have oral traditions that he drew from in the writing of the Zohar. He surely did. But the tales of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, as described in the Zohar, aren't exactly history or the writings of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And so as I experience this exuberance around me, I'm very much at arm's length and feeling, again, put off by the division and put off by a sense of wishful thinking that leaves me an outsider. But one more and a closing thought to end on a more uplifting note. I share that only to describe it because it's 1 year later. It's not a story I've been able to share in a public setting, and very much Lag BaOmer has been on my mind this week. When I was there, I did some video recordings, and one of them was of this song we began with. It was you know who wrote that melody? Hoshia et Amecha. Linda nods. Many of you have heard already. It's a melody of Rabbi Abraham Twersky. He's a writer on addiction. He's a chassid. He has a long chain of yichus from the founders of Chassidut on both sides of his family. He's a psychiatrist. He retired with his wife, Gail, in Yerushalayim. And when I was with him, and last year on sabbatical, he's very much been physically compromised. Started when he was 85, he's 87. And I love him and am so honored to know him. And one of the great joys was going to visit him that week after Meron. And he had a grandson who had come in from Brooklyn, who was mamash a chassid. A shtreimel wearing chassid on Shabbos. And it was so beautiful. He said to me, his grandson is like 6'2" or 3, long, beautiful red beard. And it was so cute because to me he's a chassid. And Abe said to me, isn't he an attractive man? And it turned out that his grandson had also been in Meron that week. It was one reason he had chose to see his Zaidi that week, as he wanted to go to Lag BaOmer in Meron. And Micha Odenheimer was with me to visit, to introduce him to Rabbi Twersky. So he said to Rabbi Twersky's grandson, "What did you think of Meron?" And you could see he was like, mamish, I'm now doing a little Reb Shlomo channeling. It's like, mamish, he said, such achdus, such unity, because that too is real. If there's one place and one time in which all the Jews of Israel, religious and non-religious, all those strains of Chassidut and Misnagdim dance and sing together, it was Lag BaOmer. It was beautiful on that level. And I put on the recording for Rabbi Twersky, to Hoshia et Amecha, his melody that somehow got released into the world and became a song that people sing and dance to, no one knowing its origin. Isn't that an amazing thought? You can release a melody and it has wings, and you don't know where it lands and who else it uplifts. And sitting in his home in Yerushalayim, and him watching this sea of Jews celebrating to the melody that had come, as he would say, through him, not by him, only through him, was my closing moment and taste of the gift of Lag BaOmer at Meron, a chance for Jews to gather, to celebrate, to put aside, perhaps for me, my critical mind, and also to allow myself to flow and feel the gift of Israel, bringing the diaspora of Jews, the Achdus, together as one. And so I invite us to sing once again Hoshia et Amecha, and to bring ourselves on this, the week of Lag BaOmer, back to that place of joy, of Achdut. Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da da, ya da 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 da, ya da da, ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da, ya da da, ya da 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 da, ya da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da, ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da. Ribono Shalom, Master of the universe, you have blessed us with critical faculties. May we use them well, but may we also know when to let go of them to experience achdut, to experience unity, and are drawing close to you, the achdut. Amen.